I'm Belinda. I'm the indie dyer of Featherfin Yarn, a little German hand-dyed yarn brand, and this podcast is about me talking a little bit about my shop updates, what's new with my yarn, what I'm knitting, and also what I'm sewing. So I hope you have a fun time listening, and perhaps you get some inspiration of the projects that I do. It's been a while since the last episode. I'm sorry for that. There were the holidays, and also my toddler started daycare, so getting him used to it took a lot of time up in my day. So sadly, I had no time to film any updates, but I'm happy that I can do this now. First, I want to talk about my finished objects. I have knit a lot of balaclavas lately, all three of them for my son. And I have knitted three because I was on the hunt for the perfect fit balaclava. The first was too small, too tight. The second one was too long and not really wide enough. And the third one is perfect. And the third one is the one that I improvised and did without a pattern. So take that or leave that. So why did I need a balaclava when I always ignored the trend for myself? I have a 15-month-old little toddler, and if you know toddlers, they love to pull down any heads. So even when I just finished a beautiful fourth head for him, I had to switch course and take the rest of the yarn that I used for the fourth heads and make him a little balaclava. This is the BB balaclava, and it's by the designer Agnes Brandels, and it's really pretty. I used the leftover soft and silky yarn from the fourth head in the color platinum, and I also had some leftovers in the color espresso from a fourth head that I gifted to a friend. I was attracted to the checkerboard pattern, but in hindsight, I think I will not do the checkerboard again because the vertical stripes have to be crocheted on. And I never got friends with crochet. I think perhaps I'm doing it wrong, but I'm really hurting my wrist with this movement. I got through it, I did it, and I love it. But sadly, it was too small for him. He got some wear out of it, but it was really challenging getting it over his head. Yeah, really cute little pattern. But yes, only if you like crocheting. Not for me, sadly. The next balaclava is this one. This is also the BB balaclava. In theory, I just used the measurements that Agnes provided. And I have chosen two strands of my calligraphy yarn, which is a kind of self-striping yarn. They have these little chunks of black in it. And I really love this marbling effect. And yeah, that was my excuse not to make the stripes myself, just use self-striping yarn, and it went so much faster. I think I finished this in a week next to all the toddler crazy going on. So that was really nice. I was very proud of myself. And if you have followed me on Instagram for a while, you might recognize this yarn. I used this exact yarn for a cowl that I started making. Or was it a cowl or like one of these bibs collars? I don't know the word anymore. I think some people call it dicky. So like a fake collar you wear under a collar you wear under your jacket. But I didn't like the density of the fabric for the pattern that I was using it, so I just frocked the project and used it for this one because now it's the perfect density that really is perfect to keep the wind off his ears. If the balaclava would fit snugly around his head, that is, because the width was approximately very similar to the first balaclava, but it was just longer. And that resulted in like a gap that was perfectly where his ears are. I will insert a wearing picture of him, like it's always standing apart from his head. So not the point I wanted a balaclava for. I still used it for a few days until I could finish another one of the balaclava. So his head would be a little bit warmer. And one balaclava is better than no balaclava because the other one was too small and was very difficult to get into it. So finally, I have the third balaclava, which is the perfect balaclava. I don't have to knit another balaclava for a while now, I hope. I again chose the calligraphy yarn because it was very fast and I like the look. I chose a deep emerald color this time, and for the pattern I used the same construction as for the BB balaclava, but I just measured the head of my toddler independently from any pattern and was like I was imagining his head like a box, like which the width is that, the depth is that, length is that, and I just like knit a little box for him. So yeah, that is the finished balaclava that he's probably not going to wear now because now it's getting warmer. So yeah, I kind of messed the timing up. And another finished objects I have planned on last episode was a Christmas dress with a pure wool ponte that I got on our last London trip. And it is in a beautiful red wine color, and I thought it would be perfect for Christmas. It's wool, it's warm, perfect. Sadly, right now it is drying downstairs because, as with all my wool things, when I store it over the summer, I first have to wash it so that no pests or anything are attracted to any residual smells that are in the clothes. So it is currently drying. I cannot show you. I can only show you some pictures of me wearing it to Christmas or to a concert that was early January. So I wore it to that as well. I had a lot of fun wearing a thing that I actually did finish it, and yeah, I'm proud of that. That were all my finished objects I finished in the time between now and the last episode. Now let's talk about some whips. So, works in progress. Right now I have two works in progress, both knitting. I will start another sewing project soon, but I will talk about that in a minute. My first work in progress are the Herding Cat Socks by Stone Knits, and I use the Super Sock base in silver, steel, jade, navy, emerald, and also brass, and a little leftover from the calligraphy yarn in Viola. And those colors are just little scraps I have left over from earlier projects. So it's a really great stash buster scrap yarn project. The calligraphy yarn is the same weight of yarn, but it's not as durable with it being pure wool and not nylon and wool. So I only used it at the top of the sock so it won't get anywhere on the bottom of the foot. I'm knitting it in a size 2, and so far I'm really happy with it. It's a fun pattern to work at the little cats and seeing them emerge. It is quite a struggle to do color work knitting or to do the first color work knitting that you've done in years for socks, because you have to really pay attention to the tension of the strands on the back, because the socks still need to have a little bit of stretch. So yeah, I'm getting better every row of cats, I think. I still have one left to go that I will do in this color. And then I can shape the toe and cast off the first one. And I really hope that I won't lose the motivation to knit all of it again for the second sock. And finally, it is time, after knitting for my baby, after knitting for my husband, I am knitting something for myself again. I am knitting a sweater on my machine, and I have chosen the pattern CatKnit Pullover by Andrea Rangel. I think I hope that her name's pronounced that way. And I fell in love with the pattern from the first teaser picture that she posted on Instagram. It's a circular yoke pattern with cats on them. Really, really beautiful illustrated cats with a lot of details that I have not seen something like this yet. So I immediately bought the pattern and I have made a gauge swatch with super sock yarn. The twist on this is that I will heavily modify this pattern. So the idea of the pattern stays, but I'm changing like nearly everything else. I am making my own circular yoke pattern for my measurements, and I also want a closer fit around the neck. And all of that is resulting in a very probably different looking version of this pullover than it was originally. But I really love the illustration, so I will still call it a CatKnit pullover because you can clearly see that I took the color work pattern from her, even when I probably need to widen it a little bit on the bottom because I need a little bit more flare, because I'm starting a little bit closer to my neck. I need to flare out more. So I will probably have a very chunky CatKnit pullover. But I'm looking forward to that, especially because my cat is a British short-hair cat which is a little bit more stubbier and more wide in its build. So I think that may be really cute. Also, what I'm modifying is not only everything. So not only do I make my own pattern, I will also modify it to work on the knitting machine, because the floats on this color work are crazy. There are 15 stitch floats in this. And I'm struggling with my, what are those, 9 stitch floats in the herding cat socks. But it's really easy working color work with the knitting machine. So I'm dividing the yoke in a few pieces, sewing it together, and then just adding sleeves, adding the body. I will not do a dart this time because I think because of the shape of a circular yoke, that will accommodate that enough. Also, I noticed that the yarns from the Winter Forest update that I did before Christmas really match the colors Andrea, I think it's also Andrea, yeah, Andrea chose for her original design, match the pattern, match the original yarn a lot. So I was thinking about offering a knit set for this pattern as well. If you're interested in that, please leave me a comment and tell me if you're interested in a knitting set for the CatKnit pullover, or what other patterns you would like to be put in a knitting set, so I can think about what color choices, what needle sizes, which yarns would be best for that. Just leave suggestions in the comments. I would be very happy. So that were my works in progress. Let's talk a little bit about plans, even if there's not a lot to talk about, because I'm leaving my schedule fairly open with 2 color work projects. And if I really go crazy and need a cute little easy project for on the go things, or just to take a brain pause from all the color work, I am thinking of doing another pair of arched gusset mittens. It's a free pattern by Pearl Soho that I really loved. I have chosen the adult small size and 2 strands of calligraphy to knit my last ones. And I had really small hands, so them fitting me perfectly was like a dream come true. And I have, I think last September, have taken in a kid silk base into my program. It's not yet available dye to order, but sometimes I just include it in a yarn update and dye some new colors on it. And I wanted to try making kid mohair mittens and brush them on the inside so they would be really warm. Now that I think about it, I think the time for really warm mittens is also nearly over, but I still like the idea, and it would be a really easy and nice flow type of project. So it's still on my list. The other thing is I have bought some patterns from Wikisews for pants, and I have finally got the fabric in the washing machine and pre-washed them. They're currently drying downstairs, and I'm tracing the pattern. So it's a PDF pattern, so I printed out pages of PDF, and then I traced it on tissue paper. And now that I have traced it on tissue paper, I will tissue fitted to my body. So that's something I do with a lot of sewing patterns, with my self-drafted ones and with bought ones, just testing it on myself with tissue paper and see if there are any fit issues before I have too many issues to fix in fabric. There are still always a little bit different issues in fabric as with tissue paper, because fabric behaves differently, but you can get a lot of, especially things like the length of like parts of your body, you can get sorted out with trying it on in tissue paper. Yeah, so this is hopefully something you will see in progress in the next episode, or at least an update on it. If you are still watching, thank you very much. I now will update you a little bit about things in Featherfin Yarn, what's been going on. For example, shortly before Christmas time, I had a yarn update that was called Winter Forest. It was inspired by snow on evergreen forests. So there are a lot of icy blue hues and very dark greens, and a little bit of undyed yarn as well for the snow. And there's still some skeins left in the shop if you want to have a look. They are linked below. I have also put together a knit set for a popular pattern, namely the Sophie hood by Petite Knit. It's gaining a lot of popularity, and I had not any fancy for the Sophie scarf. It was just not my kind of garment. But the Sophie hood I can get behind. It's a really cool, like, hooded scarf, and looks so chic on everybody that's making it. You can throw it around, and I think it's also really easy knit. So just a perfect project. And because it's so close to your skin, I have chosen our softest yarn, the Cashmerino. And she also, so Petite Knit also suggested some cashmere blends in her suggest yarn category. So I thought it would be perfect. The gauge also seems pretty similar. And yeah, I thought it would be a perfect fit. And people often ask me for suggestions or yarn and pattern matches. And I was like, yeah, that would be a really great choice for this popular pattern if you want to try it. You need, I think, 2 to 3 skeins, depending on how long you want the scarf part to be. And you can choose how many skeins you want, which color you want, and even if you want to have a needle with the set coming to you or not. The pattern you have still to buy from Petite Knit, but she has a really clear, structured website and so many languages you can choose from in her patterns. So yeah, I think that will be splendid. Also, what will be happening is the new yarn update. It will come to you on Valentine's Day this year, on February 14th, and it's a very violet hued inspired update called Tea Time. I was inspired by lilacs, berry hues, all the things of cozy British tea time with a beautiful china and just warm and cozy moments. And yeah, if you like the color palette of this, I would be very happy if you could mark the date in your calendar, or if you subscribe to my newsletter, there will be a reminder there as well. And yeah, that was it for me. I hope you had a fun time listening. I hope you got some inspirations from the project that I chose to do. Perhaps you were still looking for something for a little bit of scrap sock yarn so you can cast on the herding cat socks. I will keep you posted about my progress on the fat or chunky CatKnit pullover that I'm doing. And yeah, I hope to see you again in 3 weeks' time. Bye bye.